that them?
You know,
Are they here?
I don't function that
The,
way.
I said
the
I wanted to do it at night. I'm going to go in the evening.
I
I
was with the
think that's
briefing at 11:30 at night.
I know what happens in the daytime. It's the night that I want to.
Man, it's cold in here.
Correct, Mandy?
Yeah, no, I'm going.
Can
guys
you do
can't
a
even
night shift
say
like
it.
that and then go to
I'm
bed
going
at
to
8
Per-
go
o'clock in the morning?
to.
oh, God.
I'm going at 7 tomorrow.
Oh, you're back.
Doing days. We get off at 3:30.
No, no, 7.
Just for you, Bill.
You're going
Just for
tickets.
me.
Yeah.
Just for
Okay.
you.
Now, we didn't talk before this meeting.
little bit difficult to work with.
Well, let's start the meeting here.
So,
We ready?
ask him if he's got a form he would like
Call
to
the roll.
use.
Mayor Bain,
I'm here.
The city
Vice Mayor
manager.
Petrolanda,
Here.
Councilman Best,
Present.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Here.
Councilwoman Zapata.
Here.
We please stand for invocation. Councilman Petrolanga.
If you can please bow our heads. Before we begin our work at hand, we ask for your blessing upon this gathering of servants. We pray for your guidance in the matters we're about to discuss. Amen.
Amen. Put your right hand over your heart. We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Councilman there. Okay. Good evening, everybody. We're going to awards and presentations. We're going to start with Chief Usman with his service aid.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We don't have an official swearing in for public service aides, but I think it's important that we introduce them to the council and the community. So, Mr. Rizuela? Front and center. Alfredo, no, stand on the podium. Turn around.
And
Turn around.
There you go.
There you go.
So we can, I can
At
see
ease.
you.
At ease, at ease. Alfredo Brizuela, welcoming him as the newest member of the Miami Springs Police Department as a public service aide. He's 33 years old, born here in Miami. He's married. And everything was okay until I found out what high school he went to. Because we actually are rivals, but no. with that
Columbus,
said,
right?
Yeah, he went to
Yeah.
Columbus. He has a master's degree in social work, and one of the proudest things about hiring him is that he's an Army veteran. He did 4 years in the United States Army, serving 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. And he continued with 2 years with the National Guard, and now he wants to continue serving as a member of the Public Service Aid, and then in the future, hopefully a member of the Miami Springs Police Department. So,
Very nice.
welcome. His wife is here,
Welcome.
and I welcome her. And if you want to say anything, you can, but you don't have to.
Honored to be here. I love the community, and I look forward to working alongside with you guys. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you for your service,
Thank
and
you.
welcome aboard. Sure. Alfredo, you want a picture?
He's looking to move in here too. You might want.
Want a picture with your wife?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yours better half. Yours better half. Are you kidding?
Mentions that he served the 101st Airborne.
101?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And every email he would send me, range, Airborne leads away.
Gotta love those 130s, Alfredo.
Thank you, Alfredo. Welcome aboard. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, you got it. Thank you. We're going to bring up, I think her name's Karen Rawson. You want to come front and center with me?
You think that's your name?
It's hard.
Okay. This is something we do for people who have served not only a job but served the community and people in this town. And Karen Rawson, an elderly services director. She was here 41 years and 7 months, dedicated service to the City of Miami Springs Elderly Service Department. We're presenting this to her today, the 28th of January 19th. January 2019. I've known her for, I don't know, as long as I can say I've known her, and her son's here. And Nick's good friends with my son. And she's always done a great job. I've been mayor since 2003, and nothing ever came from the place that wasn't positive and good. And we're going to miss her, and I hope that your retirement is great. I hope you come by and see us once in a while.
I will haunt you.
But you really don't have to. You really don't have to. But thank you, and this is for you.
Erica, with Lucas.
You want to say something?
Not really. I can't do it.
Huh?
Good shot.
Had quick reactions.
Thank you. Oh, come on, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Take your time.
You know, this is loud. Do I have to use this?
Yep.
My tenure with the city has been challenging, frustrating, sad at times. But I couldn't have picked a better career. It's been so rewarding. And part of the joy of being in that position has really been the fact that I've got to see so many different seniors in my time. But I've also watched the community, and I encourage all of you to keep up the good work. Because in truth, can you hold that? Thank you. Because the community helps our seniors. Neighbor helps neighbor. Senior helps senior. And it can't be done without the community doing it. So I just encourage you all to keep trying and keep doing it and keep it. This community is wonderful. And so I thank all of you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I'll give you two. Go ahead.
Now that Karen is leaving, hello?
Karen.
Mayor, I'm
Now
coming.
that
Mike.
you're leaving,
Here,
I
to the
want
mic.
to say 2 words. Qué lástima.
What a shame. What a shame.
By contract, you have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Be 15 minutes tonight.
Okay, we go to Mercedes. What's that name there? Adida. Oh, Adida.
There's a,
From the Miami-Dade School, Miami-Dade Public School Association.
Good evening. Ooh, it is loud. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, Mr. Manager, members of the public, thank you for the opportunity today to present the board's legislative priorities. As you probably all know, we are about to start the legislative session, the 2019 legislative session, on March 5th, and to be concluded on May 3rd, hopefully. As the superintendent's letter dated November 19, 2018 stipulates, we are asking the community to support the board's legislative priorities, and we greatly appreciate any support we can have. The top priorities for the school board relate to adequacy of funding and equity in funding. Adequacy refers to the increasing of the base student allocation, which is a variable within the education funding formula that basically comes to us without any strings attached. So it's the only portion of that funding that doesn't give us discrete ways that we must use those dollars. So the BSA allows for school districts to basically cover the increase in operating expense, be able to increase teacher salaries, employee benefits, create new programs, expand current programs. So it really is the flexible dollars available to school districts. As it relates to equity, and I'm sure all of you have heard a lot about the district cost differential. The district cost differential is another variable within the FEFP, or the education funding formula in the state of Florida. And basically, the DCD calculation was modified back in 2003. When it was modified, Miami-Dade County Public Schools became a donor district to the state of Florida. Before that, prior to 2003, 62% of our funding came from state funds, and the remaining 38% came from local property taxes. Today, as a result of these funding formula modification, the average taxpayer in Miami-Dade County County pays over $1,000 more towards educating our children in Miami-Dade than the average taxpayer statewide. So we're looking to have that formula modified. Last year, we were successful in acquiring funding to fund a study, a statewide study, on the calculation of the district cost differential and its components. Recently in January, that study came out, and the DCD study indicates that there are issues with that calculation. One of the issues is the lack of transparency in the development of that component of the FEFP, the lack of consistency in applying that formula. So you see that different pieces of that formula is used in some years, and in some other years it's not. It is also recommending that the legislature explore using another type of index that more closely is tied to wages, especially as it relates to education wages. And the last issue is to create a task force to be able to monitor, with experts, to be able to monitor the calculation of that district cost differential. The other issue, and I was here, Mayor, a few months ago regarding funding school safety officers in our schools. We're asking the Florida legislature to fully fund the cost of having a police officer at every one of our schools statewide. That would require another $24.5 million to be allocated for Miami-Dade County Public Schools in order to ensure that the school district has sufficient funds to pay and have a police officer at the door of every public schools. So with that, Mr. Mayor, council members, if there's any questions, I'd love to be able to respond to them, and I ask for your support on these priorities.
Any questions?
What would you like from us right now? Is there something?
Well, it would be beneficial that the city take a vote on these priorities so that we can show that there is countywide support on the board's legislative top priorities. And I've just outlined 3 of them.
So you're asking for a resolution then?
It would be, yes.
Do you have any other cities that have produced one yet?
Yes, there have been Palmetto Bay, there's Miami Beach is hearing it on February 13th, so there are numerous cities, and we've asked the same ask of all of our municipality as well as the county in order to show support. And certainly the modification of the district cost differential, recognizing that what we have been saying since 2003, that the formula change was adversely impacts Miami-Dade. That report now is a third-party independent study that shows and supports our position.
Through the chair, is there anything else that perhaps we need to know about this report before we issue a resolution on it?
Well, I think I'd be glad to send it to you. It's a lengthy report. There's an executive summary. It was actually heard in committee on Thursday of last week in House pre-K through 12 appropriations. The economists did a really, really good job in presenting it. And the findings were 3 recommendations as a result of the findings. And is 1, that there needs to be more transparency in the calculation of that formula. 2, that they should consider a different index using the comparable index, wage index, which is a more modern, more vastly used in other states as it relates to the development or the usage of an index. And third, there should be a creation of a task force to monitor the implementation of it. But I'd be glad to, through the manager's office, send you a copy of that report.
I for one, would like to read it before I
Yes, to
Sure.
issue a resolution.
Sure. I'll send through the manager's office a copy of that report, as well as the link to the pre-K through 12 Education Appropriations Committee, which was very interesting.
Thank you. I guess we can go ahead and tonight consider a resolution for the February 11th meeting.
Fine with that, Mayor.
And find out how the other cities have, how we do with the resolutions, and do our homework, and then present it on the 11th. And if we want to vote for it, we will. Okay?
I have a question.
Sure.
If Iraida, thank you for coming. I don't think anybody from the school board has ever come here to talk to us. Small city, so.
Yeah.
Well, you came the
But
last time.
it's been a while. It's been
Not
a while.
since I've been up here, you're the
Right.
only one.
Right.
I think you made a statement a few minutes ago saying that we need $24 million more for police security. Is that not, that's in addition to the bond that we just passed in November?
Through the chair, the $24.5 million is the cost to additional costs that we would need to incur to cover every single school. Okay, now that's separate and apart from the referendum dollars. The referendum dollars that passed recognize that this is a state mandate, and what our board's position is that a state mandate should be funded by the state and not have to be borne by the local taxpayers.
So if we get the money, what is the money that where is it going to be allocated? If we get the money from Tallahassee?
Through the chair, I've been doing this for 25 years. The likelihood of the legislature appropriating, because $24.5 million is Miami-Dade's needs. So you extrapolate that number, it's closer to $200 million statewide for all public schools. Okay, so the likelihood of that kind of infusion in one line item is highly unlikely. So the referendum dollars would still be used for police and teacher salaries as what the voters approved back in November. Another issue that is going to be discussed heavily at the state level is the report by the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Commission, and one of the recommendations is to look at a formula of not just having one police officer at each of the schools, but looking at various characteristics of a school, i.e. the number of students that you have, i.e. the type of building that you have, i.e. the square footage, the number of kids. So there'll be some discussion of having, assuming there's funding, additional police officers at each of our schools. But I think the minimum requirement by the state legislature is one. So right now, that's what we have. We want to make sure that the Florida legislature appropriates and fully funds the mandate that they've given school districts, and then the referendum dollars would allow for to make up any difference that the legislature may not have funded, and perhaps looking at a varied formula to address some of the recommendations that is in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas report.
Thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Be safe.
Thank you.
We're having the Miami Springs Little League is here to present or to exercise, to let us know what they're going to do. I think they're going to say walk, strike out, whatever. We're going to have you're going to have camera reviews on the field.
Well, we're working on it. Little funding support would be always helpful.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. I'd like to begin by introducing myself. My name is Daniel Verdier. I have recently been elected the new president for Miami Springs Little League after Otto Cameo has been president for the last 8 years. We're very excited. Tonight we have a small part of our 10-person board here with us, and I'm going to give them an opportunity, if we can, to just quickly introduce yourself as well.
Hey everybody, my name's Adam Toro. My role on the board is community liaison to Virginia Gardens. You know, that's a rough job, Mr. Mayor. Grew up in Miami Springs, played Little League here all my life, and just looking to continue the tradition and see it grow and be successful. Thank you.
Fred Gonzalez, I'm the vice president for the Little League, and I've been coaching my son, who's now 7, for the last 4 years. Haven't missed a season. Moved to Miami Springs 3 years ago from the beach. Moved down here to Miami, Florida, back in 2004. So, and now my daughter is going to start playing this season, so I don't know how I'm going to balance an 8U team and a T-ball team, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'll let you know.
You can do it.
Good evening. I'm Mara Smith. My son is the same age as Fred's son, and we've been in Miami Springs since 2013. Love the neighborhood. My husband and I are Canes, and we made our way all over the United States and back. So we're happy to be here, and I'm the secretary.
Not with us tonight is Hector Guerra, Marcelo Weber, Natalie Ogando, Mike Rico, and I'm forgetting
Nick Bello.
And Nick Bello. Just a little bit about myself really briefly. I grew up on the sport. I loved it, played all through high school, all through college, and just to have a passion for the game, and as do these others. My son is 9, and currently what I do for a living is I am a principal up in Broward County. Been doing that for 7 years, so I feel like we're able to take that good educational mindset and put it towards the players and these young men and women that are coming out for this program. A couple of things that obviously what we're looking to do is obviously enhance and grow our program. You know, we've had a few years now where we've been competing with a lot of different programs, the soccer program and other programs, basketball. There's a lot of opportunities out there for these children. So really being able to deliver a high quality program is what we're looking to do, and obviously that's going to take time, and we are fully aware of that. You know, enhancements of facilities and really just getting the numbers and providing the support from the city and the support from the community members as well to get to where we need to go for that. But overall, we are excited for this upcoming year. We are going to be hosting our opening day on March 2nd, which we would like to formally invite all of you to come out to join us for that event on March 2nd. I know Councilman Best has done the creed in the past, correct? And yeah.
A couple years now, yeah.
Couple of years. So we would really love to have all of you out and to, you know, be a good show of support for us and for the city as well. Okay. Any questions?
Just got. I got one.
Who goes first?
I'm going to go first. As far as to cross, you're not going to. I know sometimes it happens, but I don't think it should. The cross of people playing soccer or basketball to allow them to have lenience of coming and play baseball at the same time.
Yeah.
My son is currently doing basketball, and then he also did flag football right when we were starting.
But I mean,
the fall.
some of these they cross each other a little bit. But
The soccer, we met. You guys met with soccer.
Yeah, we met with Virginia Gardens to work on making sure in the fall we can allow kids to play both.
Okay.
So the practices won't necessarily collide, and we're also looking at ways in the summer to do the same thing with flag football if kids want to play both. But yes, we feel like we need to enhance each other's programs so that we can maintain the number of kids.
that answered my question. I want to make sure.
Yeah, that comes back to, you know, just further on down the road. Obviously, Fred does a fantastic job of working with VG and coordinating. I mean, with the facilities that we do have, we have a lot of teams. Now with AIE out there, you know, the soccer programs out there, baseball's out there, softball's out there. There is a lot of competition for a little bit of ground space.
Yep.
You know, so we
and for the player.
What's that?
And for the
And for the player, yes. So again, this is why we're looking to really bring a high quality program. It's something that you know, the parents want to be a part of for that.
Go ahead.
No?
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Just messing with you, Mayor. Are we going to have the El Duque this year? I think, not last year, the year before that, El Duque was in the opening ceremonies, and I saw a lot of excitement from the parents and some of the kids who knew who he was.
Mhm.
Is that something you guys going to be able to do?
We are currently right now working on developing the opening day agenda. We do have feelers out there for a couple of different opportunities for a couple of different people to come. The Marlins, we've been in contact with them as well, of looking to support our T-ball program. They just did opening day over in North Miami Beach yesterday, where there was Marlins players that had come out to support that. So we definitely have a couple of opportunities, couple of options out there. We're trying to pull in those big names, you know. So yes.
All right, thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Yeah, through the chair. Dan, by the way, congratulations to all of you on your election to the
Thank
board
you.
there. I know
Good
Tom
luck.
and I sat on that for a few years. Tom was president way back in the day.
Mhm.
But Dan, what day did you say the opening ceremonies were again?
It's March 2nd.
March 2nd.
March 2nd. The
Thank
time is TBA, but it's going to be somewhere around 9 or 10.
Yeah, normally 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
usually.
right around there. So.
Yeah, good luck to you all. Thanks,
Okay.
thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
you need good luck.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, and
Good weather. Yeah,
Yeah.
good weather, and good luck, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And go for it.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
good.
we're looking really, once we get our numbers in down the line, you know, we'd love to come back and present before you to start to show the growth within the program and maybe some opportunities of ways that we can enhance some of the facilities here in the city to, again, be able to provide that better, a better quality for our players and for our youth. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
We don't have anybody here to speak in an open forum, so we're going to bring up, where was 11?
11B?
Yeah.
Yes, Mayor and Council.
11B, discussion options. No.
You want the legislative request?
Yeah.
Over the past month, I've been meeting with Jose Fuentes, Jose Bermudez, and Ellen Bogdanoff, city lobbyists, to discuss the upcoming 2019 legislative session and our city's funding request for this session. In discussions with the mayor and council, we have prepared 4 funding requests based on the number 1 priority being funding for the construction of the new senior center. The 4 items we selected: number 1, senior center construction, $1 million. Number 2, senior center meals and services, $185,944. Number 3, the South Road Poinciana East Drive to Lejeune median project, $1 million. And the Canal Bank restoration, which we received $500,000 in fiscal year 2016, we're requesting $1.5 million for a total request of $2,685,944. Attached to your packet are the 4 Senate request applications. The purpose of the discussion at this meeting is to elaborate on these requests and allow council to add any other issues to the list. Historically, we have been successful with the senior meals and services request. That is why we're requesting this funding again, so that we can keep this service going for another year. We were advised that there will be money available this year for water and stormwater related projects. This is why we're adding the Canal Bank restoration. If you remember, we had requested $2 million for this project back in fiscal year 15-16 to complete all 5 phases, but only received $500,000. Our lobbyist tonight, Ellen, is here tonight to discuss these requests and address any questions council may have.
Are there any questions or any proposals?
I do have some questions. In particular, in the first 3 items that you mentioned, William, you know, I think wonderful. I just have some questions with the Canal Bank restoration and what's considered a water project. My understanding is that there's a possibility that there is funding available for water, what falls under a water project. How does a Canal Bank restoration, are we sure that that falls under the qualifications of water project?
I think the manager will. We had a conversation with Senator Diaz, and he was the one who suggested. I mean, what we do know is there's going to be an emphasis because of
In particular, the governor issued his executive order and is very concerned about flooding and all of the water quality issues. So we know that that's going to kind of rise to the top of priorities. And when it has to do with flooding and flood mitigation, it's considered stormwater projects, and there's going to be a lot more money available, and the way they're structuring is going to be different. So it was suggested that we put that in there, and I know that we also kind of repurposed the median project to talk about the way that you are constructing it. It is in fact going to help with flood mitigation as well. So that's going to be an important issue to the legislature.
Median project on South Royal Poinciana?
On South Royal Poinciana,
Right.
by adding
Okay.
the
Oh, that,
median and
right,
the green
that
space.
we can throw in there with the.
Right. When
okay.
you put in green space and you allow for it's not concrete and it's not runoff and it allows for it to basically absorb into green space, that helps with some of the flooding issues as well. So we've tried to kind of frame everything that you all are doing with those two projects as flood mitigation, and that's going to be huge in the legislature this session. We know it's going to be huge. This
Virginia
session.
Gardens did that on their by the church, Blessed Trinity. That's how they got that road and that thing up because it was part of a quote unquote a water project.
And
But
the other
that's
thing
how
that
it gets out.
Senator Diaz mentioned was that since that whole section there is next to a canal, it would improve our chances of getting, because the concern right now is sea level rise, and that's what they're trying to address.
Right. The governor is basically, his executive order was creating the Office of Resiliency in coastal protection, which is huge. It's probably one of the first in the country. And as he's starting to formulate that, and we're in discussions with the governor about, what is that going to look like? What is that going to mean? So it's a very new position, but what it does show us that there's going to be a focus on trying to prevent flooding, because we know that Florida is, ground zero, and Miami in particular, Miami-Dade is number one.
So I guess my next question would be, and I don't know if this is something that should be on the back burner but I'd like to throw it up for discussion here at the council, is that my understanding is that it might be possible also to, under a water project, to do East Drive, the drainage along both sides of East Drive is, it floods. And since that is a county road, but on both ends, Northwest 36th Street and Okeechobee are county roads, state roads, that it may very well qualify for some extensive drainage and beautification along with that. Once you do the drainage along East Drive, we can incorporate a lot of beautification. So I guess what I'm asking is this something that should be on a back burner, should be added to this for your expert guidance on something like that? But it's just a possibility that can fall under a water project also, and that area definitely needs better drainage and beautification.
The thing about that is there's I think that doing this and asking for money from the state, I think the projects that we're asking for are something legitimate. I think the going to the East Drive situation with the drainage that's back there is part of the school board property. It might not be in vogue for them to give us money for school board property, something like that. I think that's a school board's responsibility to do. I think that if in our history here, we don't get much from the state. I think what the projects that have been presented here are something that are legitimate projects. I don't want to, in my opinion, I don't want to muddy the water, and I think this is enough right here because the Poinciana is important to a lot of people. If we can get funds for that, I'd rather not try to go for something that we really need, and then of course this community center. But as you see, in my opinion, as you see how these things work up there, they have their own motivation of what they want to give money to, and they would rather give money to these projects than, in my opinion, than people who might need the place to stay and get healthy and everything like that. They'd rather give us money for rocks, but and that's how I feel
a little more
about
than
it.
rocks, Mayor.
Yeah,
Carl.
$2
So
million. I would like $2 million for the center, and then we can go and get the rocks the next year. But
okay, and
that's my opinion. I don't know what council feels.
I agree. Anytime you go to a state level, the mayor's correct. I don't think that you want to really push too many buttons when you're looking for anything. If you do, you might get nothing.
Yeah.
Ed, is that how you?
I would tell you
I'm
the good
asking-
news is that you have phenomenal members in the legislature, and Senator Diaz, who has a lot of experience and a lot of respect, and Representative Avila are
Avila.
two very well respected members. So I don't think you could be in a better position. I do know that the senior meals and services is something that is definitely on Senator Diaz's radar. He kind of mentioned that. Maybe the bigger challenge might be the senior construction,
Yeah.
but that's only simply because the state has not been really fond of a lot of brick and mortar projects in the past. Because there's so limited money, they would rather put it into services that directly help people, like the meals. So if you had to pick one or the other, the reason that the stormwater projects and money for water and flooding is going to be so important is because it's kind of front and center. We just had the hurricane, and we know that sea level rise and the flood mitigation issues are going to be important to the governor. So you kind of look at the makeup of the legislature and what their priorities are going to be, and that's kind of what you focus on. And what we look at is at the end of the day, it's up to the members as to what projects that they want to push and what they think is most important to the community and what they think they can get through. Because there are, if you look at the millions and millions of dollars of projects that are being requested across the state and how much extra money is available, to kind of like fund those projects that go back to the communities, the proportion is not great. So you put in like 4 or 5, and hopefully we can get at least
And
2.
I guess that's what I'm asking
Yes.
and I'm asking your professional expertise in that. Should we put in 4 or 5 when there is this other project that falls, and to the mayor's point of, some of his school board, it's true, part of East Drive is school board. There's the middle school on one section, a part of it, and there's Stafford Park in a little bit, but by no means is it all school board property. It's, residences along there also. So is that something that we should add an additional project and have, right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and have 5, or stick with 4? And I guess I'm asking your guidance.
I would say stick with the 4, because the more you ask for in terms of, just in my experience, and I served in the legislature for 9 years, so and I represented a lot of cities because I was a coastal district from North Palm Beach all the way down to South Broward. So it was a matter of, when I kind of like would consult with the cities, I'd say, pick your 1 or 2 top priorities. It's like anything else, because you have 4 and some communities have 5, some communities have 6, and you know that you're not going to get all of them. And considering that your members are also representing many other communities, and everybody's got to get something. So, and we tell them, you rotate, and whatever your top 2 priorities are, we focus on. Now, the hope is we get all 4, and we push for all 4. But we also have to look at the priorities, where the budgets are, who the budget chairmans are, what other priorities that they have on their list, what other communities are asking, and what are they asking for. What we know about last year is we all had a lot of projects, and then, unfortunately, sadly, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. So a lot of the money that was going to go for projects was basically pushed and sent over to school security. So it's kind of hard to predict, but we put in all 4, we work all 4, and then we would be able to, meet with the city manager and the commissioners and advise you as to where we think, the tide is moving, no pun intended, in terms of what we want to basically push and what we think we can get through, and how much money is being allocated. Because the allocations come out probably sometime in March as to what we know is what each individual appropriation silo is going to get, and that kind of gives us an indication. When you share a particular area with other entities, unless those other entities are pushing that area, like the school board, it's going to be harder to get.
Okay.
And just to add, the reason we picked these 4 projects is because these 4 projects are ready to go, and we know what they're going to cost. There's engineering plans and projects have been done on this. The project that Councilwoman Mitchell is discussing, we don't even know what it's going to cost. We need to have some drawings, some engineering plans done to see what's involved and how much we need to ask for. So
And I would say,
everything
I agree. The shovel ready is critical. They want to know that if they're giving you dollars,
Where it's going to go.
that it's going to, where it's going to go, and that it's going to be
gonna happen.
spent in the fiscal year, and that it's not going to be sitting in the bank account, because somebody else could have used that money.
And then, Mayor, if I may, I have another question.
Sure.
And thank you for that. As far as, since we're talking about legislative agenda, and I don't know how this falls in, but our legislative agenda with our lobbyist would involve the bed tax, the tourist development tax, and trying to, should that be, how does that work as far as an agenda for the legislative agenda of trying to get our lobbyists to?
I've been talking to Brian about that, and I talked to him the other day, and he's got a bill that some bill that's approaching that, but I think that would be go into the way he put it to me was it'd be a legislative thing, and he would sponsor and go forward with it. There's he has some kind of a bill about the tax money that he's attaching to the tolls.
Are you talking about MDX? Or you yeah?
The bed tax money and
Oh, the bed tax money.
yeah,
Yes.
he's got
yes.
that going to be attached to the way he explained it to me to the fact that he wants to do something about the tolls, that we're paying too much on the tolls, and he's approaching it that way. That's what I know.
What-
So-
I think it's up to us. I think to me that is up to us to go ahead and lobby from here, and supposed to be getting other cities to help me with this, but we haven't got one yet. To lobby from here and the force that from us, the force to the county and to the state to get that done.
Okay, and I too have met with Representative Avila about that, and I know that this is intended. I guess what I'm asking is, since we're talking about a legislative agenda, is this something that we need to ask you to pursue also? as
You
our
give
lobby-
us your priorities, and we will continue to monitor and to advocate on your behalf. I mean, we have a lot of great partners when it comes to a lot of these city issues because a lot of you are on the same page. So you have the League of Cities, what other cities that we may represent, and we have the ability to go in and try to advocate. But these are big picture issues that the League of Cities also works on. So we kind of work in conjunction with a lot of the stakeholders to make sure that if you have priorities and you let us know, we'll keep you posted and we will advocate on your behalf.
Yeah, basically what these are funding priorities.
Correct.
We discussed with Senator Diaz, and I know all of you have talked with Representative Avila about the push for the bed tax money. And I know Senator Diaz discussed with us a plan he has.
Right.
That he wants to put forward too.
Right.
So,
A lot of the bills will be filed by the beginning of March, so we'll have a better handle on what's going to be done. I mean, we know that there are going to be a bunch of preemption bills, and there's always stuff out there. We could be busy all day long kind of, addressing a lot of the city issues. That's why we kind of work with the League of Cities to find out what their priorities are, what we feel is really going to pass, because there could be 30 bills out there that affect, local communities, and we know that maybe 4 or 5 of them are serious and the rest are just kind of, with all due respect, making noise. And we have to try to figure out which ones are making noise and which ones are real and which ones we have to focus on to make sure that they help you and they don't hurt you.
Through the chair, if I might, Bill.
Sure, go ahead.
I understand about the alignment of communities in terms of getting something accomplished, but I think the city of Miami Springs holds a pretty strong hand in the number of hotels and motels that we have in this town based on our population. And I don't think anybody that would be lobbying for something along these lines come even close to holding the hand that we have in that area. So I hope both the representative and the senator understand that thoroughly.
I will tell you that based on our conversation, and I was in the room, they clearly get it. So whatever the plan is, we will continue to monitor it and keep you all posted. And if we have to set off alarm bells, we certainly do, and we kind of rely on our commissioners to make those phone calls. But I would tell you that you all are in a very good position because you have 2 very strong members representing the city, and that's a good place to be because not all communities have that.
Thanks, Ellen.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Tell Jose tell Jose we'd rather have you come than him.
Oh, okay. I will let him know.
By the way, where are the Jose's? Are they up there right now in the 10-degree weather?
I would tell you this, that Jose Fuentes had another commitment. Jose Bermudez was
And Mr.
supposed to be here,
Bermudez?
but his father's very, very ill. So
Oh.
he's actually in Orlando attending to his father. And he sends his regards that he could not be here, but
We'll back at him and the best to his dad. Promise.
he does. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we go to 6A, January 14th, 2019 regular council meeting.
Through the chair, motion to move, sir.
Second.
I have a change to it, please, Mayor, to the minutes. In the first sentence, the way it's written, and I know the intent of what it's written, but I think I would like to clarify that. The first sentence says, Councilwoman explained the need to continue to pursue the bed tax money that's being paid by local hotels to Miami-Dade County in order to cover police services. It sounds like, if you read it and you don't know what's happening, it sounds like Miami-Dade County is collecting that money to pay police services. So I would like to clarify that and end with a period where Miami-Dade County is, and then add a sentence, Miami Springs should be receiving a portion of the bed tax money to offset the cost of our police services at the hotels.
Through the chair, withdraw and remotion with the councilwoman's changes.
Is that what she said, though?
I see where she's going with that, and it could.
It's not what
it
I
could
said.
It could stand for
Who
some.
said that?
Me, well, this
No,
is how it's written,
it's
but
how it could be
Erica
perceived. I understand
summarizes-
what she said. I didn't personally take it like that, but I could see how others would.
If you don't know the
Yeah, I have it. I got it.
Clarification if.
Yeah, I got a motion. Anybody want to second it?
Already there?
Oh, you
No,
second
not with the changes. With
Oh,
the
second. I mean,
Okay.
what am I doing?
Your
Just
seconding
messing with
is
you.
the amendment.
I second that.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolanda?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. Let's see, reports from boards and commissions, none. Public hearing, none. Consent agenda.
Yes, this is a recommendation by the police department that council waive the competitive bid process in the best interests of the city, mainly due to that they are the only local vendor in Miami-Dade County to provide police uniforms. We've established a 20-year relationship, and we want to approve an expenditure to Lewis Police Distributors not to exceed $24,000 for police uniforms, as funds were approved in the fiscal year 18-19 budget. For the police uniforms, for 44 sworn officers and 19 civilian employees. The last uniform order was November of 2017. We still have 2 officers, 1 dispatcher, 1 PSA, 1 school crossing guard, 1 part-time civilian to get uniforms for this fiscal year. Often we have to get uniforms ordered quickly, and it causes a hardship if they have to rely on companies that are not local or online.
That's A.
Okay. And B is recommendation by the police department, the council approve an expenditure to Garber Fleets Sales utilizing Florida Sheriff's Association contract number FSA 18-VEL26 in the amount of $414,474 for 14 2019 police patrol vehicles. The vehicles will be financed over a 5-year period through Bank of America, as these funds are available in the fiscal year 18-19 budget.
Have a motion?
Through the chair, motion to move A and B.
Second.
Second. Further discussion? Call the vote.
Mayor Petrolanda?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we go to old business. There's no old business. We go to 11A. First reading of an ordinance.
Yes, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Miami Springs, amending Code of Ordinance Section 34-16, leave, by simplifying the policy on employee vacation leave accrual limits, providing for complex, and providing for an effective date. Let me read the memo from our HR Director, Bill Collins, into the record. And staff recommends that council approve the proposed ordinance that amends the Code of Ordinance Section 34-16 leave to establish a maximum vacation accrual limit and halt the accrual of hours when an employee reaches the limit. This amendment is intended to encourage leave use, curtail leave abuse, simplify leave administration, eliminate carryover requests, and foster a more balanced pattern of leave use throughout the year. Under discussion, the current rule is that vacation leave must be used by the end of the calendar year following the year in which it was earned. That means most employees should theoretically retain only 96 to 136 vacation hours at the beginning of each year, depending on years of service. However, over the years, a growing number of employees have declined to take vacations and have accumulated large leave balances. Requests from those employees to carry over their excess vacation hours have been customarily granted by prior city managers. in part because there is some ambiguity in the current code on the consequences of denying a carryover request. Since vacation leave must be paid out when an employee retires or otherwise separates from the city employment, the snowballing of leave balances creates a growing unfunded financial burden for the city. The solution to this problem is to encourage employees to take vacations by replacing the current outdated system with a modern policy that halts the accrual of vacation hours when an employee reaches a specific level. A vacation leave accrual cap is the best practice in human resources and has been adopted by a majority of local governments in the area, including Miami-Dade County, the City of Miami, and the City of Doral. Under the recommended ordinance, employees will not lose any excess vacation hours they have acquired as of today. These employees will simply not accrue additional hours until their vacation leave balance falls below the 272-hour cap. A cap of 272 hours is fair and generous because it represents 2 full years of vacation leave accrued at the city's maximum accrual rate.
This this doesn't fall in the police contract. This is the city employees.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we've exempted the everyone under the collective bargaining unit.
That's
It's
just
just- I would have to
the
negotiate
police
that.
They have their own contract.
Mm.
This is just for city employees. Okay, go ahead.
Through the chair, Bill, what prompted you to make this change?
Well, initially, it was the simplicity, because you pretty much have to be a mathematician with a PhD in order to calculate how many hours. I mean, I think maybe you received the
Yes.
an email that this is what, and it's so confusing. As things started, it was vacation leave must be used by the end of the calendar year following the year in which it was earned. I mean, that's a little complicated, but what we did maybe 5 years ago, I wasn't here, but I think it was the right decision. People weren't allowed to use any vacation leave for the first year, and that's pretty tough on a new employee. So the rule was changed so that you could use it as you accrue it. Well, then it got even more complicated. So now you can use it as you accrue it, but you're supposed to use the leave from that given year into the following year. It's very complicated. So I looked at it and go, oh my God, this is too complex. Our payroll specialist, she complains about it every week, especially at the end of the year when there's all these strange calculations that have to be made. We've got to send out all of these requests where people have to fill in the amount of hours, and nobody gets them right. They're all wrong. So we have to kind of fix the hours for the request for the carryover. The number of carryover requests now is getting larger and larger. And what happened, I think we talked about this year, was we started looking at, we've got people with as high as 664 hours at the end of the year. So it's a lot of, there's a lot of time that's adding up. And when people leave, we pay that out. We pay that out, as their vacation leave. And it's, getting to be 4 and 5 times what, for some people, what we would ordinarily pay out. And that's not getting smaller, it's just getting larger. So I think the manager he's convinced by financial arguments like that. So, but there's a lot of, and the idea is not to, we discussed it, and I mean, it could be that, and I think we would be on safe grounds to simply say, hey, look, we're not going to approve any carryover requests. Some cities do that, where they just say, hey, no carryover requests will be approved, and that'll be the end of it. Well, people will lose their vacation leave in that case, probably.
Could that potentially cause you a problem, where everybody's coming into October, November, and they have taken no vacation?
Yeah.
And now you got half the cities on vacation.
It's happening and that's another one, right. So the whole idea is this. There's a mad scramble at the end of the year to use hours and do these things, and it's like, we've got all of these other issues going on, and we don't want to do things right at the end of the year. We want to have things balanced throughout the year.
So your MO here was to simplify it, reduce workload,
right,
and make it easier for everybody to understand when they get
right. Right, and also let people, and
Yeah.
also protecting the, they've, some of them, some folks have felt that maybe this is because they know it can be paid out, they'll think they'll create a nest egg that someday when they leave, they'll get this,
Yeah.
small fortune, and
It's paid out at a higher rate of pay
Right,
than,
of course, right.
than when they earned it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the current rate, is how they go out at the current rate, yeah.
Right, so they go out at the current rate, and it.
They get paid retroactively what they were earning at the end.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
at their higher rate, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's not sustainable. I mean, it's going to eventually, and other, other places like the city of Miami, didn't change not too long ago, but they had to set caps much higher because of it. The time to address it is now before it gets worse. And
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Bill, help me. Let's see if we can work something out here. Because I have a problem with the last sentence. Well, the last sentence says those employees would simply not accrue additional hours until their vacation leave balance falls below 272-hour cap. Now, my concern is that there might be someone that has so many hours that will take him a year and a half to get down to the 272 hours, and that means they're working without a vacation.
Let me give you some numbers, Councilman Petrolanda. As I told you when we were talking about this, once you set this limit, there's only 8 people that will be affected. And I was looking at them. The highest one has 45 days vacation.
45 days?
45 days.
Over the 272. Over the 272.
Over the 272 hours. They have 392 hours or 45 days.
Okay.
Then it goes, the other one is 34 days. Then it goes down to 24, 18, 14, 7, 5, and 5.
So you feel comfortable. I guess my question is, you feel comfortable that they can bring it down to the 272 so they can accrue the
Of course,
the vacation.
this will be an incentive for them to start bringing it down and using vacation.
Right, but my concern is that they now that you give me the numbers earlier when we spoke, I didn't ask you really.
Right.
We were just briefly speaking, and you didn't give me the number. 45. You have 45 days.
That's the worst one. The
That's
worst one is 45 days.
So you feel comfortable that he or she can bring it down to the 272 and not go a whole year without accruing any vacation because they haven't gone to the 272.
And that's up to them. We
I
want to
understand,
encourage them
but
Take a vacation.
No, that's not what I'm asking you. But what I was concerned, they were over like 500 hours, and
No,
they
no,
were never
no.
going to be able to get down to the 272. And they're going to work a whole year and not get any vacation pay because they were over the 272. That's not the case.
No.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have some questions.
Sure.
Bill, so am I understanding this right? Like, say for the employee who has 45 hours in excess of the 272.
45 days.
45 days, excuse me. He would have to whittle away and take that time, but in the meantime, he's still an employee. So normally, even if you're on vacation, you're still accruing annual.
No, you wouldn't. You would not accrue annual. Once you reach a cap, and this is the same way that the county works. This is the same way.
Military.
I think almost.
A lot of businesses.
Most
Yeah.
do. You just stop accruing. Part of it is, I'm originally from Massachusetts, and in Massachusetts, you can't do a use it or lose it situation. You can't take away something that you gave them, and that's, so, and that's what happened. There's a state laws in various parts of the country that do that. So they create these accrual caps so that you never earned it. So you don't lose anything. So Florida's a little bit different, but the principle is a good one, that you just stop accruing. The whole idea, the idea here is that we're not really hurting the employee. And again, the manager could just say, I'm not going to carry over, I'm not going to allow you to carry that over, and everyone would be back to the 136 or whatever. They would lose it overnight. But the idea is to do it in a very compassionate way, and encourage them to do it. Remember, they're accruing it at 1 per month, so that's not, if they have that much they've accrued, it's time for them to go in the other direction. And the idea is that if people take vacations, they'll be, in theory anyways, that there'll be reduced stress and they'll be better employees. And that's,
Well, a lot of corporations and companies make you take your time. They don't like, a lot of them, you have to take your time.
Have you, has this been presented to the employees?
Yes. we've
Before,
heard-
have you gotten feedback from the employees on working, on something?
Right, and we've again, most of the employees are under the 272. Originally, when I first was discussing with the manager, I proposed the same accrual cap as the city of Doral, which is 240. And One of our employees said, you know, they think that it would be better if we made it 272 because that would be exactly double the amount. If someone did not take a vacation in a year, a regular employee who didn't take a vacation in 2 years, that would be the amount. So we agreed on that. But we sent it out to all of the department directors, asked them to you know, to give us whatever the input they have too. So.
To the department directors, but the employees, this is not going to be a surprise to them. This is something that they're.
No, I think that they've all been advised.
Okay.
But they'll be,
One other.
and I think they'll welcome it because the idea is to simplify.
No, I understand. And at the county, you know, you reach a certain level, and then you got a notification way before that, which said actually, and I think this is what I'd like to see is if we can, when someone starts approaching that level, that they receive a notification from HR saying you're approaching this level, please, you know, start considering, you know, start planning to take your time. Because what I see here is, and I'm asking how this is going to impact whatever employee has, say, 45 days or 34 days. Say they decide, okay, I'm going to take off the next 6 weeks off. Isn't that going to impact us?
Well, they're going to have to work with the department head to schedule their vacations during the year.
That's why I asked that.
So.
I'm done for the rest of the year.
And I think the main issue is when everybody understood when they were hired what the rule was at this time, which is at the end of the year, it's up to me to approve all these carryovers.
Right.
And the way the code is written right now, if I decide not to start approving any of these carryovers, they're actually going to lose those hours.
Okay?
Yep.
I think you did a great job.
I do too.
Thank you, Bill.
I think it's going to be an improvement.
So I
thank you
need a
very much.
motion to
Motion
approve
to
this
move the
first
item, Mayor.
reading. First read, I got a first.
I'll second it.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Petrolanda?
Yes.
Councilman Bass?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapata?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. Okay, this is the discussion, we're gonna go about the television.
Yes.
We're gonna go about, they're gonna bring out the makeup for us and everything like that this time, I understand. Yeah, they're gonna pat us down with the brush, make sure we don't shine.
We get makeup too?
That's what I mean.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They only
Yeah.
wear certain
Yeah.
makeup.
Nice.
They say some people up here shine a lot.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir, miss, ma'am.
Hey, you.
Okay, I wrote a memo for your consideration. Just recently in December, I received notification from Comcast that they will no longer be servicing our council meetings come February 1st. I did not prepare any funding for the options I proposed in the memo, and there's just one option that is, of course, at no cost. So just to go over briefly what the options are. Option number 1, which is the in-house, basically our council chamber is already set up with cameras, but it's a wide angle view. So it's always going to be like a static view. It's just going to have the entire dais, not when somebody comes up to speak or individually focus on a speaker. That's what we have currently. We would just have to assign, which would probably be IT, just to upload the video to channel 77 for home viewing. There's no expenditure to that one. Option number 2, this was kind of like thinking out of the box and trying to save some money, would be to continue to have the video done in-house by purchasing a camera equipment to record, but then I would have somebody staff to do the recording, to be the technician essentially. So I would assume that there would be a one-time fee of the purchase of the equipment, but then there would be an ongoing cost for either comp time or overtime for the city clerk staff member to cover the meeting. Then option number 3, we were given an outsourcing, like a vendor that would really do what they do now. So they would provide the technician, bring all the equipment, upload the video to channel 77, and that's an ongoing cost of $9,000 a year. So I just needed some direction as to.
And if we go with option 3, it would be from February to September. We probably need about $7,500 to carry on for this year.
You have that in your budget? The
I do not.
7,500?
Mayor, may I say something?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, option one, on option one, I think we should be careful because if that camera goes down and no one knows about it, we're not gonna have anything to show the folks. If we lose audio, like she knows if we lost audio, she knows if we lost video. We have someone manning that camera. These static cameras here, we don't have that. So unless we can figure out a way where somebody can look at them, and in case we lose audio or video, they can go, because at the end of the council meeting, we can do a do-over. So we gotta make sure that those things are on and are recording both video and audio. So option one, we should be careful with. Option two, I think we don't need to spend option two, I don't think we need to spend $5,000 on a camera. I think Anna has a camera that we might be able to use. So I'm not sure if we could,
I asked, she referred me, she gave me that approximate cost.
But she has one.
She has one, but she recommended a different one, an upgraded
I know, but it's $5,000.
But that would include the tripod, it would include different components.
How much, William, you know how much we spend on the camera she has now?
The one you use,
It was like $2,000.
not offhand.
So I think that if we want to go in option two, I don't think we need to spend 5,000 because he has a camera we can use at least to get it started till next budget. And then we can look into how we're gonna do this better. Just my opinion again. And option three is really the one we need, but do we have that kind of funding right now? So.
Anybody
That's
else?
all I have, Mayor.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to ask Councilman Petrolando, so what you're suggesting is that we go with option two until the budget?
I think so. We have a camera that we can use. I mean, I've used lesser cameras than the one she has now to record hours and hours of video. So.
And then we wouldn't require the 5,000. So you're saying
camera,
option two
right.
right now until the budget, that wouldn't be any any
Right,
cost?
Any equipment investment. Obviously, we're gonna need somebody to man it, so you're talking about overtime pay. That one is gonna cost us money. I'm not sure which one is gonna cost us less, 2 or 3, but I think it should be either 2 or 3. One, we're running the risk of these cameras going down and not recording either audio or video, so it should be either 2 or 3 in my opinion.
As far as I can see, it should be option 3 to the end of the fiscal year because the fact that it's not going to be the 9, it's going to be the 7.5, and we always can in the interim here see what we can do about practicing with the camera that Anna has, and maybe have one of our whoever would like to volunteer as a staff person that would like to do it and spend the time here watching us do our council meetings. Maybe, then maybe we can tell the private company we won't need them till the end of the
That's
year.
why, yeah, as
So-
budget time comes, I would be able to
Right.
propose other
So that would be my vote is to go with 3.
Well,
Here, how much is 2 gonna cost us though?
Well, two gonna, I don't know, because you run the same risk that you're talking about with the
Right.
camera up there.
No,
You're talking about,
Yes, we
let me
do.
finish. You're talking about the same risk as the camera up there. You have a camera, but you don't have an operator
No, but
that might not be behooved to do the job right.
she has an operator.
Yeah, but we're making assumptions about the camera she has that we don't really know enough about sitting here.
In my opinion, I've done many videos. I know about cameras. In my opinion, I think that one. Now again, I think that one works.
Yeah, but we're
Not
you
for-
think
not
we're
for
making an
mo-
assumption about something and she isn't here to respond to that, so that worries me.
Well, like I said, in my professional opinion, I'm into videos. I know I can make that assumption.
Let
Now
me
my
ask- let me-
problem is that you're not going to be able to use this camera for years. This is just to get us through the next budget. I'm thinking which one will be cheaper, either option 2 or 3 is the one we should go with.
But I'm also concerned that option 2 places a liability on us if something goes wrong in terms of that actual filming of our meetings. So it could be, the onus is put back on us as to,
So if they mess up, what are you going to do?
Fire them and get somebody else.
Yeah, I understand, but I
yeah,
mean,
it doesn't
so-
come back to the city. It's the city,
I don't know. Everything comes back to the city. So
I'm
I
concerned
think we
about
should go 2 or 3.
Well, I'm recommending 3.
2, we have to see how much money it's going to cost.
Okay.
Because we need to pay someone.
This
an overtime.
contract that you have going on, is it can be can
finishes.
you go ahead and be release of contract without cause? Are you having any kind of contract like that?
No, I believe it's on an hourly basis.
Oh, so it's on an hourly
Yeah.
basis?
Yep.
That's how the contract's
That's how it
written.
is. That's how.
But
Yes.
that,
That's the
that
proposal.
that price you're saying is at the 9,000 or 7,500, like the manager said. Our meeting here tonight is going to be maybe an hour and a half, right? Hour and a half meeting.
Yeah, right.
So we're
I'm
gonna,
assuming the 4-hour meeting
Is
because
a-
it's from 7 to 11.
Yeah.
So anything beyond that.
okay, so they're going to
It could be less.
They're going to
Could be
get paid
less.
4 hours no matter what.
Right.
That's
Right.
what you're telling
Right.
me.
Yeah.
You got a minimum charge, is what you're saying to me.
4 hours.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
And the other one, the other thing that says is that there's only 2 meetings. We have any special meetings, and they're not gonna cover it.
Right.
Unless
It
we
would
pay
just
it.
cover the two.
The regular council
The
meeting.
2 regular council meetings. We have workshops or anything like that, it's not gonna be covered.
Well, and the
Right.
reason I put 7,500 is because I added the 2 budget workshops in
Right.
August. So that's how I come up with that number. But I think to be ready for February 11th meeting, Erica,
Mhm.
option 3 is the only way to go, right? Would
this
you be
point.
ready if they decide option 2? Would that be ready by February 11th?
Well, I would have to, like you said, if we're going to use Anna's camera, I mean, I would need to obviously do the training. I don't think I would be prepared.
Is that her camera or is that a city camera?
It's the city camera.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, but February 11th meeting is going to be very important
that's
to
a
have
push.
right.
That's a push. Through the chair. What I like about option 3 is the fact that it maintains current level of service. That's what I like about it. I mean, that's written that's just stamped all over the thing. And I'm prepared to go with that one.
2 or 3 work.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
one
To-
is
to-
not.
I need a motion.
Motion to move utilizing option 3.
I second.
Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Petralanda.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilman Zapata.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. And I still think the councilman, maybe in the interim, we can see if we can have a practice run with one of our people next to the camera, just to understand what's going on. Maybe we can do it ourselves. But right now,
Yeah, just to
I
keep
agree with
continuity.
Councilman Best.
Just to keep continuity going.
Yes.
Yeah. And we can. Why not play with it and see if we can come up with something better?
Sure.
Councilman or Vice Mayor, I don't blame you for coming up with that thought.
Just
right.
trying to save.
Yeah.
Trying to save money.
I
That's
feel
all.
like we had this discussion before,
Yeah, I know.
like deja vu.
Which one?
This one,
Yeah.
years back or something.
Ish.
I guess, Mayor, real quick. I guess this is a good segue here.
I know where you can do though. You can stand behind the camera and help.
I don't have a problem. I can do that.
We'll give you a microphone and you can stand there and help. And when it's your turn to vote, hey, Councilman Petrolon, aye.
I can take
There
that.
you go. Yeah.
Councilman, would you get up here for your vote?
I have a question. When are we gonna get the videos that we were
We ordered. We have the stuff. It's just getting the electrician to do the wiring.
wiring?
Yeah.
Because we.
Anything
Got a
from the
bench?
city attorney tonight? Anything from the management
Just,
company?
as I know all of you received the email today. We finally got approval from the county to lower the speed limit on South Royal Point Sienna
To 30.
miles an hour.
Had 81 tickets made there today.
And we also got the new sign put up on Morningside that had been down for a while also. So, and I think Tammy has some events for you.
Yes, January 31st is a Thursday at the Curtis Mansion. There's going to be a public speaker strengthening your immune system for adults and kids from 7 p.m. to 8:30. On February 1st, we have the Pelican Playhouse begins their debut at 7 p.m. at the Rebecca Sosa Theater. Also that same evening, we have the rec camp out at Prince Field. Registration is due by January 29th. It's $20 per campsite. February 2nd is the Seafood Festival at the Optimist Club from 11 to 9 p.m. And February 5th is the Miami Springs Youth Drug Prevention Seminar at the Rebecca Sosa Theater, and it's free admission from 6 to 8 p.m. That's it.
Can you go over that again?
Sure.
Councilman Petrolonga tonight?
Thank you. Mayor, I just want to let you all know I went to the Community Health and Wellness Fair hosted by the Women's Club on Saturday. Awesome. There was a good turnout despite the bad weather. Mayor, I was told that they had requested for you to request better weather, but you didn't come through for them.
Well, I was inside doing something, so it didn't bother me if it was
Alright.
raining or not.
But yes, I want to thank Elizabeth Fisher and all the ladies at the club for all the great things that they do for our community. Like I said, it was outstanding regardless of the weather. I also want to let you know, Mayor, that I went on a police ride-along on Thursday of last week, and I'm here. I didn't get shot or I didn't get killed.
I was worried about you getting arrested.
Arrested. So
I told the manager, I said, "Geez, I hope he doesn't get arrested
Oh, boy.
tonight."
What shift did you do?
the second.
Second shift, swing shift?
Yeah, the easy one.
Easy.
You tried a third one. The third one's interesting.
Yeah, but I had to go to work the next day, so I had to sleep.
Yeah, you got to take the day
unfortunately.
off.
You got to go
Well,
the
I
extra mile, Mr.
I want to thank.
Gotta use one of those vacation days, you know.
I want to thank the chief and Officer Helfner, Eric. He was great, explaining everything that was going on. I encourage all of you to go on a ride along so you can see what these officers do. I have to report, while I was there was 2 calls that he responded to, and one of them, or 50% of the calls, were to a hotel issue. So we need to get
So one
behind
to the
them.
hotel and one to the residence.
To residents,
Okay,
exactly.
all right.
So 50% of his calls at night was to hotels, to address a hotel issue that was going on.
Usually it's more than that.
Well, it was only 2 calls that I
Right.
was able to go. I didn't stay the whole night. Like I said, I had to go to work the next day. So I left early. But like I said,
Did he drive you to your house?
they picked me up and then they dropped me off.
At your house?
No, at the jail, man.
At the house?
At the
No,
jail.
no. I drove myself here.
Did you pay the Uber fee?
I drove myself here
Oh, okay.
and I drove myself home. But I encourage you, Mayor, to
I'm not
go.
going on a ride like that.
You scared?
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm gonna get shot.
Wow.
He's a hunter.
Yeah. Councilwoman, for you?
I have nothing to say.
That's all I have, Mayor.
I'm just
Nothing to say.
I'm just debating whether I should go on a ride along and thinking what shift I should
You
pick.
should
That's
go.
all.
You
I will.
should go.
I will.
I want to see the good stuff. Go 3. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm
Great
gonna do
shift.
that third shift.
Great
That's
shift.
at night, right?
Yeah.
That's the graveyard shift.
Do it on a Friday night.
Briefings at 23:30.
But believe it
I'm
or
busy
not,
on Friday
believe
night.
believe it or not, police say the most active shift is 3 to 11.
Yeah, the second shift.
Believe it or not.
Second shift.
Most active.
Councilman Best.
Just a couple kudos to or at least one, to the manager and staff. I had requested some months ago or weeks ago, there was a section, water main break on Lenape and Dove, and they filled that in, and it's major improvement. So while we're on that subject, I'd like to talk to you about 36th Street on the Miami Springs side going west from Lejeune to about Lee, I think it is, Lee or Sheridan. In the left-bound lane, or the passing lane, there was some construction done there a few months back, and that is awful going through there right now. I don't know how many of you have gone through there.
It is.
It's like a washboard, and I don't know if that's county responsibility. I would
That's
think
water and sewer
yeah.
putting that in line.
That needs to be completely repaved, and again, it is on our side.
You write that down? 36th Street?
36th Street
From
westbound, left lane, between Lejeune and Lee or Sheridan. You can see where it ends because it just stops on the washboard. But that needs to be filled in. I'm thinking that they probably have a work order to do it, and it's on somebody's desk somewhere at the county or wherever. But if we could push that, sir, I think most of the residents would appreciate that because that's awful going through there. Thank you, Mayor.
You got it, Councilwoman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Sosa for helping us get the speed limit reduced to 30 miles an hour. The county kept saying that it was impossible without us spending, I don't know, beaucoup dollars to make the median and all these things, which seemed ridiculous, and she was able to make it happen. So it's great that now throughout Miami Springs we have a consistent speed limits of 20 or 30 instead of that area of Miami Springs being always different from not being able to be part of the fold. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and I should have done this when we were going over it and Bill was here, but I would like to ask that before the next reading, before the second reading of this this ordinance, I don't know what we call it, with the facilitating the annual leave, that all the city employees receive a copy of what it means to them, so that they're aware of that, so we have time to hear from them if there's any major concerns before the second reading.
Does council want to go ahead and do that? Does it,
through
you
the
have consensus to do that?
through the chair, while I appreciate Councilwoman's concern, I think there is policies in place for that, and I'm certain that that certainly all the employees that I've talked to know about it. So I don't know. Are you suggesting somebody doesn't know about it?
They don't know that these changes are coming.
You've
They-
been told. We've been told tonight that
We've been told that they haven't.
That they,
been
ta-
told.
that
No,
they
they-
talk to the supervisors.
No,
That the
the
supervisors are,
employees.
no,
Well,
my
no.
understanding, Bill said he had spoken to the supervisors and asked for their input on how to do this.
Correct, and and they did get some return, and the majority was favorable. I think William did
From the
mention that.
supervisors.
Correct.
But I think it's reasonable for us
I
to,
don't
if
know-
we're making
I
major
don't-
changes with their,
I don't know that
Um,
it's our charge to be
He was
questioning
there.
policy that's written though.
we're voting on it. And
Bill,
would like
come here,
employees
got a
to know
question
about
for
it
you.
We're
before we
voting-
vote on it.
Because he was watching.
He's over here, Dan.
Did you talk to the employees besides the supervisors about this situation? What you're doing? The employee-
Well, I've talked anecdotally to a lot of the employees, but not as a group. We asked the department directors to communicate with them.
So if the
Right,
directors
right.
have talked to all these employees about this
I
situation.
can tell you for a fact, the 8 people that are affected, 5 of them are golf. And Paul and Lori have talked to them already. One of them is, 2 of them are department heads, which we've talked to already. Actually, 3 of them are department heads that have been talked to already, so they all know.
Okay,
I
so
talked
the
to
ones
one-
that are
and
going
I
to be,
talked to
aff-
one-on-one, one of the folks that has that one-on-one about another matter, and discussed this with her.
so of the ones that you mentioned, all of these have been talked about and are aware of this?
It's my belief that they
Specifically,
have,
not
yeah.
the supervisors, because, I mean, supervisors can note those things, but that the employees, I think, we want to be good employers.
Right.
And I think being good employers means being considerate of, of your employees and keeping the lines of communication open. They work for our city, and they.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that we absolutely.
So all I'm
before
suggesting
the
is just
second reading,
a very
right,
simple, these are the changes that are coming. We want to make you aware, and that's it, so that it's not. I think that's just a courtesy from an employer to an employee.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think that there haven't really been a lot of complaints about this particular policy because I think they see it's a generous one. I mean, it's a better policy. than the
It's
last
to
one.
their benefit. It's
Right.
I
either
understand,
this,
right.
or if we go back to the old policy, I don't approve the
I
carryover.
don't
they
doubt
lose
it. That's why I voted for it. I'm just saying I'd like to make sure that, as a courtesy,
They're an employee.
And those,
I
those,
think
those
that, right, and they work for our city,
Yeah,
and
but
we're
they're an
very
employee.
indebted to
There's
them.
it's a business decision by the city government to make this
All I'm
decision.
sa- Mayor, all I'm saying is to provide them the information.
My company, if I want to make a decision on something like this, I don't go to the employee and tell them I need your approval or your advice on whether I want to do this or not.
You're a private employer. We're
A business is a
municipality.
business. And I'm hearing from staff that the people that are involved in this change situation have told them that they've been talked about and told about it. Evidently, it doesn't affect the other people besides the 8 or 9 people.
Which
this
is fine,
change.
if the people
So-
that we've discussed are aware of
Well,
it.
I think they've
are not
said
gonna be
that already,
surprised.
though.
I understand, but they hadn't before.
With
We
through the
clarified
chair, with all due respect to Councilman Mitchell, I totally understand what she's saying, but again, I would caution us all up here to be very careful about how we tread on telling directors how to run their operations.
I agree.
I understand the caution factor that you're concerned with, and I understand that you're concerned in a real way for the fact that these people may or may not have been contacted. But I think we've both been assured, all of us been assured tonight that that has occurred. So I just don't want to see us jump off onto some tangent here where it's going to be considered protocol in future for any situations like this to go the way that you're suggesting. That's all.
Councilman, I have no problem now that the manager and Bill have confirmed that the employees who are going to be affected by this are aware of it.
And I'm going to make absolutely sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Before the
thank
next
you.
reading.
You have
That-
anything
that
else,
There's no
Councilwoman?
question that it's been, that they're aware of the consequence. I can tell you that those that are in that situation, they feel a little uncomfortable the fact that they did roll up such a high lead balance. It's not something they even want to shout from you won't see anyone here tonight. They're not something I think they're proud of. They know that they need to take that lead. So,
Okay, bye. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
This meeting's adjourned.
30. 35.
Hmm?
Okay,
Right.